I can now say, based on the totality of information, that there are reasonable grounds to believe Samuel is deceased and that his death is criminal in nature.
Tonight, Edmonton police give an update to the case of missing teen Samuel Bird.
When we raise the flag, we honor the survivors who struggled for so long and have had that truth held and heard within.
The raising of the residential school survivors flag on Parliament Hill.
Events like this, and other people are doing events across the country as well, they're important and they're going to grow.
And the Reconciliation Through Art Festival wrapped up in Almonte, Ontario. Tansin etute maktiar Wheatley nisigasun o pasquayakuche. Tawau, welcome to APTN National News. Edmonton police homicide detectives are now confirming that missing 14-year-old Samuel Bird is presumed deceased, and his death is believed to be criminal in nature. Edmonton police updated the case on Wednesday and are appealing to the public to be on the lookout for remains. Also said today that Bird was last seen on surveillance video on the evening of June 1st, eventually ending up at a residence. Police conducted a search warrant at that residence in September. According to police, the suspect or suspects involved in Bird's disappearance may have disposed of his body no more than 150 kilometers from Edmonton, and that this occurred within a short time of his disappearance in June. A map of the possible areas where his remains may be hidden was released today. Police have conducted 3 searches using specialized personnel and canine resources. Bird's family has also been conducting searches with the help of community volunteers.
After an intensive 4-month police investigation, what occurred to Samuel in the hours after he left his mother's residence remain the subject of this investigation. I can now say, based on the totality of information, that there are reasonable grounds to believe Samuel is deceased and that his death is criminal in nature.
The Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations has released its response to the forensic audit carried out by Indigenous Services Canada and auditing firm KPMG. The FSIN says the audit contains inaccuracies that have cast the organization in a negative light. Video journalist Rachel May has the story.
The FSIN has released a written statement and a 10-page fact sheet in response to the September 26 summary of the Indigenous Services Canada KPMG forensic audit. The summary said $34.2 million in expenses from 2019 to 2024 was categorized as either questionable, ineligible, or unsupported. The FSIN says their response is based only on the summary because they haven't received the full report. The statement, which is not attributed to any specific person, says the classification of $23.5 million in personal protective equipment during the COVID-19 pandemic as questionable is baseless. The Federation says every transaction within the PPE category is accounted for, and their actions during the pandemic saved lives. The FSIN also says they had just 10 business days to respond to 717 questions about transactions spanning 5 years. The FSIN also said unapproved travel costs are reimbursed by employees. Executive raises were agreed upon by the organization's Treasury Board. Clerical errors were behind overpayments to past employees. The Treasury Board signed off on samples that ISC flagged as unapproved. The statement closed by saying many First Nations lack the capacity to handle audits of this scale, and that limited funding and short timelines set them up for failure. APTN has reached out to FSIN Chief Bobby Cameron and Indigenous Services Canada for comment. We haven't heard back yet, and we will continue to follow this story. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Truth and reconciliation events continued in Ottawa on Wednesday with the raising of the residential school survivors flag on Parliament Hill. The flag was first raised in 2022. This year, survivors raised the flag just outside Parliament's Welcome Centre. They were joined during the ceremony by Governor General Mary Simon, Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Rebecca Alty, and Algonquin Elder Claudette Commanda. National Center for Truth and Reconciliation Executive Director Stephanie Scott explained the significance of the flag raising.
When we raise the flag, we honor the survivors who struggled for so long and have had that truth held and heard within. To raise a flag on Parliament Hill is an incredible accomplishment, a testimony to the courage of survivors and to the strength of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. They are strong with their cultures and traditions, and it's so important to us that this flag continues to fly on Parliament Hill.
The Clecho government in the Northwest Territories have wrapped their election for Grand Chief. After collecting ballots from the communities of Betchako, Wekwitty, Gamity, Wati, and the city of Yellowknife, Jackson Lafferty has been re-elected Grand Chief for another 4-year term. It was a 2-candidate race. Lafferty had 962 votes, while nominee Clifford Daniels, former chief of Betchako, had 689 votes. Lafferty gave a victory speech to his supporters in the early hours of September 30th after the votes were counted.
I just want to say thank you to every one of you here. It's a victory for all of us, not just me. Number 12. All of you. It's a huge victory for the Clecho Nation. We must stand united once again. We've been separated, we've been divided, but now we conquered it. We won. We won our victory here tonight, but we must reunite our nation. Let's make it stronger. Clecho strong going forward. So that's what I want to focus on.
And our Angel Moore is working on a story about the Nova Scotia government fast-tracking a bill the Mi'kmaq say will criminalize their treaty rights.
I'm here at Hunter's Mountain, Unamagi, Mi'kmaq for Cape Breton, where Mi'kmaq land protectors have set up camp to protect the forest. They've been here for 4 weeks. And the Nova Scotia government is fast-tracking a bill to remove structures on forest roads, which may result in a $50,000 fine or 6 months in jail. The Mi'kmaq say even if the bill passes, they are not leaving the mountain. I'll have more on this story coming up. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Hunter's Mountain, Unamagi.
Pitigwe, Pitigwe. A special spirit walk took place in Montreal yesterday, led by the children of the only Indigenous daycare on the island of Montreal. It was a first for a residential school survivor who opened the walk with his son. Stephanie DeSive reports.
Corey Golder is taking part in a special march. He's opening the Spirit Walk with the kids of Rising Sun Daycare in Verdun, a Montreal neighborhood.
This is the one I always try to be a part of because it's beautiful to see the children marching.
For the occasion, Corey asked his dad Delbert to join him. It's the 5th walk for the children of the daycare, but for Corey's dad, it's his very first.
So I get emotional. That place broke my spirit.
Samson is a survivor of the Kamloops Residential School, which he attended for 7 years. He reflects on the impact of his time there.
I'm 74 years old now, but I've done a lot of healing ceremonies, and I'm very happy that I have my children. And
for this year's National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, that healing meant doing this first walk alongside his son and the other children. The organizer of the march, Catherine Cordier, highlights its beginnings.
We started it 5 years ago just with our little daycare, walking to City Hall and then walking back. And then years after that, we invited other neighboring elementary schools and schools, and it has grown.
The Rising Sun Daycare is the only Indigenous-focused daycare on the island of Montreal. Cordier is Cree from Manitoba. She created the march in response to the one organized by the Native Women's Shelter, which takes place in downtown Montreal, making hers more accessible for her 84 children.
We all have little feet. We all are using strollers for the tiniest.
Cordier prepared the children for the walk by suggesting reading materials to the educators and parents.
For our age children, all under 5, it's more just Orange Shirt Day. But it's to share more with our families and the adults to learn more about the cause.
Hundreds of people, mostly kids, gathered to listen to the speeches.
Nice to see you all.
Samson, who is a member of the Secwepemc Nation in British Columbia, spoke to the children.
That big drum helps many people in the healing process.
Taking part in a walk in memory of the children who never returned home, led by children, is what Samson called an answered prayer.
Many of us have lost relatives. I've lost relatives in that residential school that never made it home.
This father-son walk also had an effect on Corey, a Mi'kmaq from Listugush.
I kept having to put my stick to one side and wipe tears from my eyes because it wasn't like necessarily tears of sadness. It was a mix of like that, you know, what's happening here, what this is about, and also just the joy of being able to see my father lead these children.
Corey spoke about how symbolic it was to have a survivor leading a walk with children.
In my family, I am only the first generation who didn't have to go to residential school.
Traumas are passed down from generation to generation. But Corey says what's not widely known is that resilience can be passed down too.
That has always been my father's focus, and he has succeeded. You know, he's passed that healing down. I've had some issues in my life, but you know, these ceremonies helped me out and helped me correct my life.
Stéphanie Desèvres, APTN National News, Montreal.
There were numerous events in Vancouver for the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. The Britannia Community Centre hosted a walk and gathering. Ryan Cunningham has this story.
As Truth and Reconciliation Day events marched across the country, Indigenous and non-Indigenous people had time to reflect on what Orange Shirt Day means to them, including Florence Ranville from the Pine Creek First Nation in Manitoba.
You know Phyllis Webstad's story about her going to Indian residential school, and she only had her orange shirt, and obviously that was even stripped of her from any memory from where she was from and with her parents or her family. And I also have 2 grandmothers that went to residential school, and I myself was raised in Catholic schools. So there's a history there, and I can understand it.
This is the 4th year the Britannia Community Services Centre in East Vancouver has hosted this event. Although Britannia is a non-Indigenous organization, Suzette Amaya is the manager and producer for this event.
My role is really to bring reconciliation to the community and help make reconciliation more of an action plan of having Indigenous staff, Indigenous programming, knowledge keepers, and I'm just honored to be able to coordinate this event today.
Well over 500 people of all ages joined the march and events throughout the afternoon. Suzette has seen a big change over the last few years.
I think that across the nation we've seen a lot more things that are happening, not so performative. We're seeing it in schools that people are being educated, and we're just, bringing more awareness that we're still here and that we're resilient.
As a sea of orange swells across Canadian streets, more and more Canadians are paying their respects to the children who never came home and the trauma left in their wake. Ryan Cunningham, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Fort White Alive is a wildlife preserve and organization that offers teaching through nature in Winnipeg, Manitoba. This year, they recognized National Day for Truth and Reconciliation by organizing an all-day event. Julia Ross was there.
People are not alone, and we're all people and gather a good community here, and that's what it's about, and support each other. So it's nice to see a whole bunch of orange shirts.
Jason Parento lit the sacred fire to kick off the day at Fort White in Winnipeg. He says he was there in 2010 when the first TRC statement gathering was led by Justice Murray St. Clair at the Forks in Winnipeg.
That place was just full of people from all over, and it was a historic time. And so at that time, I was really young then too. And at that time, the uncles at the time, as these things were mentored into these things, they approached me to light the fire, and so at that time we did. And it certainly can't imagine how it's come this far 15 years later.
He says being able to practice his culture openly feels good and reminds him of the elders before him.
I know for my family and others, it wasn't allowed, and they weren't in fact taught some of these things. So anytime we have a chance to practice in this time, it's because those elders before us stood up and allowed us to do it.
Parento held a powwow demonstration during the morning once the fire was lit. Cheryl Wirch designed a star blanket for Fort White 3 years ago, and her design is now a permanent installation in the floor of Fort White's newest building. She says the star blanket offers comfort, support, and protection to anyone who receives one.
And with Fort White, when they approached me and asked me to do this, I had no idea where it was going to take me, and it's here today from 3 years ago. And I just thought, Fort White, oh yeah, I've heard of it, but I didn't know it was an actual family.
Wirch was invited to talk about star blankets and their importance to teach those wanting to learn at Fort White during the day. She says she didn't grow up knowing that her family was impacted by residential school.
My dad, he was from Long Plain, and he was in residential school. I was adopted, and all my life I thought that we were never affected by residential school because I was adopted and I was raised by a non-Aboriginal family and blah, blah, blah. But that's furthest from the truth. We are all affected. Trauma that our people have felt, and even more overwhelming how we share this day, how the government, how so many non-Aboriginal people participate in today and believe in us and believe our story and feel for us, sympathize with us, and love us.
Wirch says that she wants to embrace the positivity that reconciliation is bringing and the connection it brings between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. She also wants to encourage others feeling lost in the world to pick up hobbies and keep going. Fort White also invited knowledge keepers, artists, and others to lead activities and teachings throughout the day. Julia Ross, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
And Sav Jones is here to tell us what they are working on this week.
I'm at the Manitoba Legislative Building where a protest is ongoing calling for the resignation of Cabinet Minister Nahanni Fontaine. The protest is put on by mainly Charlie Kirk supporters, an American right-wing activist who was assassinated last month. So far, we've heard from 2 Indigenous speakers calling for Nahanni Fontaine to resign from her position. Behind the Nahanni Fontaine must go protesters is a counter-protest of mainly Indigenous people supporting Nahanni Fontaine. Speakers of the Nahanni Must Go protest have called the counter-protesters barbarians. The counter-protesters have been doing an ongoing blaring of noise. I'm not sure if you can hear that right now. There's been a lot of heat within this discussion, and we'll bring you more on this story tomorrow.
Wow, welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Jason Corshane shared a beautiful morning near St. George, Manitoba along the Winnipeg River. Hopefully it was a good day for fishing too. Thanks, Jason. For the chance to be our next photo of the day, send your pictures to share@aptn.ca. Now, let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, Charlottetown 14, Halifax 15. Inukjuak 8, Nain 6, Saguenay 15, Quebec City 16, North Bay 17, Sault Ste. Marie 20, Big Trout Lake 17, Kapuskasing 21, Churchill 8, Puckatawagan 13, Barons River 17, Dauphin 26. North Battleford 15, Yorkton 23, Uranium City 9, Buffalo Narrows 11. Moving west, Peace River 13, Grand Prairie 18. Red Deer 19, Lethbridge 20. Kamloops 18, Campbell River 12. Dease Lake 9, Prince Rupert 11. Up north, Rock River 2, Dawson 6. Norman Wells 6, Fort Simpson 17. Tuktoyaktuk 2, and Nuvik also 2. Cambridge Bay 1, Chesterfield 5. Resolute -7, Igloolik 2 degrees. Almonte, Ontario, just west of Ottawa, had 3 days of music, art, and reconciliation. The festival is the brainchild of well-known Métis elder and leader Tony Belcourt. He spoke with APTN's Fraser Needham about what it is all about.
Tony Belcourt explains the Reconciliation Through Art Festival this way.
Storytelling is incredibly important. That's how you get the message across. And our people tell stories in many ways, not just around campfires and in our teepees and our tents and in ceremony, but we teach through film. Our stories come out in the voices of our people when they're in our singer-songwriters.
The 3-day festival brings together an eclectic blend of Indigenous artists, musicians, and filmmakers. Some of them include Jason Berg, Patty Belanger, and Amanda Pierce. Jennifer Brandt, Amanda Riom, and Kevin Schofield are a few of the musicians featured on the music bill. Located in the heart of the Ottawa Valley, Belcourt says the festival will be attended largely by non-Indigenous people, but he also says this is part of the point.
What we're doing is we're breaking that barrier of curiosity that non-Indigenous people may have about who we are. They're feeling more comfortable, and we make it feel comfortable for them to get to engage with our people face to face. Come and talk to the artists, come and see the musicians, talk to them, come and see this beautiful film, get in a discussion with the filmmaker.
Artists have their works on display at the Mississippi Valley Textile Museum, while musicians take the stage at the Almont Old Town Hall. There's also a water walk outside the town hall. Belcourt admits with the high cost of living and the constant threat of American tariffs dominating the news headlines these days, reconciliation may have lost some momentum in the past year. But he says this is all the more reason festivals like this one need to be held to ensure it is never far from the public consciousness.
Events like this, and other people are doing events across the country as well, they're important and they're going to grow. We're not ever going to keep this out of the mind's eye. Lots of Canadians still have not twigged on to what the stories are, what the truths are, what happened. They still don't know.
Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
And that's your APTN National News for this Wednesday, October 1st. It's October already. I'm TR Wheatley. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. Both Christine Adjacote and Dennis Ward are back here behind the desk tomorrow. Until then, from all of us at APTN to all of you, Agase, Gitam, Gigawapa Mitinano.